Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Coffee with Crestwood series. Thanks for joining. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone has been muted upon entry. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, please add them to the Q&A section in the Teams webinar as we will be monitoring that from behind the scenes. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go ahead and talk about some of those questions. And our star performer presenter, Michael, will be helping address those along with me. So just real quick, I'm Colleen Schills. I'm the Director of Customer Success at Crestwood Associates. And joining me today, I'm excited to introduce Michael Saganda, one of our senior Business Central consultants here at Crestwood. So welcome, Michael. Thanks for your assistance in helping me along. Today, he's going to provide some insight to Business Central and Power BI. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to show us on how Business Central and Power BI has the ability to assist with some control and financial reporting requirements that clients have on a day-to-day business or a day-to-day activity level. As a reminder, please place your questions in the Q&A section in the Teams meeting. And Michael, I think everyone is excited, maybe not as much as I am, but I think they're excited to see the content that you're going to share. So I'm going to turn it over to you now. So feel free to take it away.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right. Well, let's get this party started.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be exploring capturing costs in BC, including labor, overhead, and material expenses. We're going to be diving in and demonstrating how to capture this on production orders. So let's get started. So for this demonstration, I am going to be in the Kronos company in Microsoft's demo data environment. And we're going to be going to the item card. And to do this, you just search item and you'll get this nice little ability to click here. And you get the item list. And I have a pre-saved filtered list, which has our item, but you can search it here with this nice nifty tool that Microsoft has in Business Central to search by text, number, so on and so forth. So I'll show you the pre-filtered there. And we're going to go ahead and open and drill into the item card. And here we have the configuration for this AirPod that you see here. And these costs are usually handled with and configured with two main elements, which are the bill of materials or BOM, and secondly, the routing. So let's first start looking at the bill of material. I'm going to go ahead and show the details here. So I'm going to drill in. And as you can see, this is, in essence, the recipe to make this item. So this AirPod takes one housing AirPod, so 1 unit, 2 units of the reservoir assembly, one on-off switch, a power board, a glass carfe, so on and so forth. So this is the recipe for this item, right? For all the items that are inventoried and in the system for you to consume in that production process, okay? I'll go ahead and back out and I'll show you the routing. So the routing is in essence and what it does is it basically lists the steps and operations in the production process. So what is it going to take to make this? What are the steps? And I've created one that's here for this AirPod that has 2 steps. So it's got the body assembly and the packing department, okay? And within these steps, you can not only assign how long it should take to do these steps, but it also does and gives you the opportunity to capture costs like overhead, direct labor, indirect labor, those are indirect expenses as well. So in this case, like this body, the assembly part in this work center, it takes 20 minutes to set up and 15 minutes to run. The second part of this production run takes 10 minutes and 9 minutes. So the packing part takes 10 minutes. So to get into the cost captures, you can go into this by clicking on the work center here. And once you drill in, you click on show details. And within show details, you can see that there's a couple sections here. And the costing section is handled here in this posting section that you see here. And as you can see, this direct unit cost is what we'll be using kind of as our labor element. Okay, so $1.20, and our overhead rate is 80 cents. So for a total cost of $2. And my calculation in our case is going to be by time. And this can be done by units as well. So if you wanted to capture these costs by units, you can do that as well. So kind of keep that in mind as you go into the routings in Business Central. So you have a couple elements there of flexibility. So whether you're trying to capture time or trying to capture unit costs. So, and the time does capture the cost. So like if we record it takes 1 minute, it's going to capture $2 for our cost. 80 cents in overhead and $1.20 in labor. Okay. As you can see, we have our minutes down here as our unit of measure. So just kind of wanted to point that out. I'll also go into the second work center, but it's basically the same setup, but with slightly different costs. So if different parts of the manufacturing line have different costs, you can kind of, or you can put in those different costing for those areas. All right. All right. So now that we've got that covered, so now we kind of know how to make this. We know how to make this now. We have our steps and we have our recipe. So let's go ahead and make this beautiful Contesto air pot. So to do this, we're going to go to a release production order. Okay, and as you can see, you don't have to type the whole thing in Business Central. You can type short keys and things of that nature. So go ahead and click on released production orders. And what I've done here is I've actually typed one out for us, but I'll go through the fields so that you can see them. All right, so inside of this production order, it automatically numbers to the next number in the sequence, so the next production order. Then you'll see that the item will automatically populate once the source type is set to item and our item number is populated. You also need to have your quantity and when you're going to make this by. Okay. I've also have this in our location main. Okay. So one thing to note that in Business Central, there's a couple different ways of capturing the output, like different mechanisms to capture the output, the consumption, and the capacity entries. In my example, I'm going to use what's called the production journal, which is in the line section of the release production order. So if you click lines and then production journal, excuse me, because it shows both the consumption entry and it also shows your routing steps and output all in one screen. So it gives you that simplicity of seeing everything in one spot. You could alternatively use the output journal, the consumption journal, and capacity journal as well. So different ways of doing this in BC, but this kind of puts it all together in just one neat little package. So as you can see, we can record our consumption here. So this very first part, as you can see, from here to about here, are all called consumption entries. So this is our bill of materials and what we expect to consume. So consumption one of all of these. And you can update this to what you actually consume. So if it's 2, you put in 2. If it's 1, you put in 1. So it gives the users the capability of capturing those variances as far as the difference between what was expected to be consumed versus what was actually consumed on the floor. So that's the consumption part. Now the routing and the capacity elements that are down here and the output, which is the last step, you can also capture the runtime and the setup time. So in our example, we said that it took 20 minutes to set this up, and the guys on the floor did it correctly, and it was perfectly efficient, and they ran it as we expected with 15 minutes. Okay, so we're going to record that. So that's going to be 35 minutes, and it's going to capitalize at that price that we had mentioned earlier for Work Center 100. The packing, they didn't do as well, but they took a coffee break in the middle, and instead of taking 9 minutes, they took 12 minutes. So you can kind of add that there, and you can kind of capture, right? You can capture that, and capturing that now gives decision makers that are reviewing this the ability to see, which areas of the production process are slowing down, are more efficient, where our cost breaks are, things of that nature. So it's very, very, very nice to capture this piece of information for decision makers. And the last line on any production order, any output line that you see down here or routing line, is how the output actually gets recorded into Business Central. So I'm going to go ahead and post this now. And I would like to show you this preview post real quick before I do that, because it does allow you to see what the effect of the posting is going to be. And so it gives you the GL impact. This is what's going to be hitting our balance sheet and our absorption that you can see down here. But it also shows you what the effect on the inventory subledger is going to be as well. So you'll see this item ledger entry. So these are ins and outs. So here's -1 for all of these consumption entries, and then we also have the output. Okay. And then we also have what are called value entries, and this is what ties back to the general ledger. So these inventory costs will tie back to our inventory valuation and our GL value. Okay, so this is what's going to hit our GL. And lastly, this capacity ledger entries. What this does is it shows you the run times, the cost of those run times, and you can see that it doesn't really post those until we actually hit the post button, but you'll see them as soon as we post this in just a second. But what you can see on this preview is the time, the quantity, so on and so forth. All right, I'm going to go ahead and post this. This is a really nice little feature right here, this show hierarchical view, because it gives you all of the GL entries, or it kind of sums them up, or it actually sums them up for you so that you can see by GL account. So just an FYI, it's a neat little feature there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and now post this. All right. Now that this is posted, you do have the ability to look at a couple things like statistics. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And it gives you a very, very nice little tabular view here of what we actually posted so far. Our material cost was expected to be $116.38, but we actually recorded $144. It was that extra unit that we did during the process. We also had a little bit more capacity, which was that coffee break that we took. It cost us looks like about $4.50, and we took an extra 3 minutes, as you can see down here. So this gives you the ability to see on a production order basis what that costs. And it's important to look at this before you finish production orders because it gives you a chance to make sure that all the costs associated with that production order are captured. Okay. There's also a nice report in Business Central that I am a big fan of called the cost shares. We've got to finish this first. Let me finish this production order first. I'm going to go ahead and change the status. And changing the status makes all the costing elements go all the way through the general ledger. I'm going to go finish it. But it's also important to know that once you finish a production order, no changes can be made. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this production order, and then we'll go to the production order screen, the finished production order screen, to show you the order itself. And you can get to those same statistics buttons and entry buttons here as well. So you have those item ledger entries that we talked about earlier, the capacity ledger entries and value entries here as well. So you can always go back in here and check that out. One thing that a lot of clients do like to see is if you're a lot trace company that you have inventory that has lots in it, you can see, what consumption, made this output. So if having lot traced is very, very nice in this screen as well. So, excuse me. All right, so the report that I wanted to show you guys is called the cost shares breakout. And what this does is it can give you an aggregate view of making an item, or it doesn't necessarily have to be just one item. It can be on a production order level. It can be for the entire inventory process, but it gives you the ability to see how those inventories are valued on our balance sheet. And what this does is it says, okay, this percentage of it was, or this much value of it was material, this much was labor/capacity, and this much was overhead. So I'm going to go ahead and run this report so that you can see kind of how this looks. And as you can see, I've been making just singular air pots. And what you see is that the material cost was $144, $75 for our capacity, and $33 for our overhead. So it's a nice report to see, what is embedded in the cost of our product that we are manufacturing. Okay. Right. So now I would like to kind of direct our attention to Power BI. With the latest version of Business Central, Microsoft has released a few reports in BC 25 that integrate very, very nicely with BC. And these reports, they're very nice graphically, and they harness all the power of Power BI, where you can filter, as you can see here on the right hand side, all the filter sets that come with that. And you also get these nice graphical drill down ability to see these in a graphical manner. So very, very nice. And what I'll do is I'll kind of walk through these real quick, the ones that are relevant to our topic today. All right. So the first one is the finished production order breakdown. And what's really nice about this one, and you won't see the production order that I just finished because I have to refresh our data set, but we've got some data to look at here. But as you can see, it shows the variance in quantity versus what we made versus what we expected to make. So I have one production order here in particular where we said, hey, we were going to make 2 of these, but we only made 1. So there's a deviation of 50%. So as you look at those variations, you can actually go look and see and analyze what's going on. Why did we miss our mark here? Did we not have the materials? Did we, look into factors like that? Did we not have the crew? So on and so forth. The other thing you can look at on this screen as well, or on this report, is the cost variance. So what we expected the production order to cost us versus what it actually cost us. And it shows us in a nice tabular form, and you can also see it here graphically, where you click on this and see, see what's actually happening with that item. So if you highlight this item, you can kind of see what's going on. Like you can see a trend. So something to kind of keep in mind as you analyze certain things about the manufacturing process. The other report that's available here that is called the consumption variance, and this shows on a dollar basis, what the difference between what we expected the materials to cost us versus what they actually cost us. And it gives it to you on a per production order basis. So if you see any outliers, again, it gives you that ability to go find out what happened as manufacturing professionals to make changes or figure out what's going on. Also, we have the capacity variance, which is very similar to the previous report. It's what we expected versus what we actually recorded. You might see a lot of coffee breaks in here. So if you saw a lot of coffee breaks, we may need to reduce that. So just something that you can kind of keep track, or you can keep track with here, and look into, so you can see, cost deviations up and down. And I've recorded a few production orders so that you can see these differences. The other report that's very, very nice in here that they've added for Business Central 25 is this production times. And this gives you the ability to see, on a per item basis, how long it's taking to do each item, and see what that variation is. So just very, very nice reporting coming out of BC in Power BI. And the last one that I want to show you is the release production orders. I don't have any right now that aren't finished, but as part of your month-end process, it's a really nice report to see, hey, we've got to ensure that we have all of these finished so that we can, make sure that, our month-end close goes to plan. And if they're not ready to be closed, that we acknowledge that and understand that going forward. Okay. So to conclude, Business Central offers a robust method of capturing data points throughout the manufacturing and production process. It integrates very nicely with Power BI, and there's a good amount of native reports that I kind of illustrated as well, that show manufacturing professionals like yourselves the information that you need to make decisions on the data that was collected. And I really hope that today's demonstration provides you some valuable insight, and that we can return to our coffee break. Back to you, Colleen.
Wow, thanks, Michael. That was really good. I mean, nice job. I was really excited to see how it was all going to come together. I'm super excited about the integration that Microsoft's doing with the Power BI side of things, because I think I'm a visual learner, and I know that if I were on that production team helping out with those coffee pots, that there'd be a lot of coffee breaks because I'm a big coffee person. So it was nice to see those visuals, though, that you'd be able to point that out. So I'm going to open up for the Q&A side of things. We have a couple of questions. So looking to get your support and assistance in answering these. Could you explain how to effectively use the production journal to track and adjust consumption and capacity entries? And are there any tips for ensuring accuracy and efficiency in this process?
All right. Well, do I share again?
Yeah, you could do that, or if it's easier to be able to talk through it, whatever makes the easiest for you.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Perfect.
Let's see.
Yeah, visualization is key. I think then we're covering all types of learners out there. So this will be helpful.
Yeah, one second.
I like how you're just entering and it's just filtering the list for you as you're entering the data in the different fields. That's such an easy user interface tool.
Yeah, it's it's very, very nice, and it actually improves with every release with Microsoft. They improve the indexing and how quickly that data loads for the user, and they add more and more by the day. So it's really nice, honestly. I've been using Nav/BC since 2009, so I've seen from where it came from and where it is now. It's amazing how much it's moved.
Yeah, it's exciting to see that evolution, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do we effectively capture this?
Yep, using the production journal to track and adjust the consumption and capacity entries.
Yeah, so you could just type it in as we showed. So you can type in how many they used of each product. There's other methods of getting this in. There's people that use handheld devices with WMS systems. There's also, and I showed a very simplistic example to capture the costing element. But there's folks that go in and have pick tickets that where they go with their WMS system and scan the product and bring it into a production area, and this gets updated as what they actually picked. So that ensures that if the pick element has happened at the warehouse level, when this gets posted, then this could get updated automatically. So you can do that, and you can also do the posting of the output directly on some of these WMS systems like InsightWorks and things of that nature. Nice. There was a second bit that can you repeat that second bit?
Yep. Are there any tips for ensuring accuracy and efficiency in this process? And I think you kind of touched on a couple of those.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is a review at the end is very, very important. So doing the order statistics, and I didn't post anything, so you won't see a whole lot, but this should give you a pretty good indication if there's a big outlier. So if you have a variance and say we're expecting $115 or $116 worth of material cost, and we have $10 worth, something's obviously wrong. So like a review at the end of a production order before you finish it is very, very, very critical to ensure that the costs that roll up to the balance sheet are correct. So and then you can also see all these other areas that are being captured, like capacity, i.e. labor, and overhead. So ensuring that review is probably the first step that I would look at.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. So that kind of leads into the next question that's out we had, and it's are you able to discuss or point out any common challenges users face when capturing production costs in BC, and what strategies or features within the system can help mitigate these issues?
So the biggest thing that I've seen since I've been working on the manufacturing side is capturing the routing costs. It's usually the part that customers have the hardest time at, to get started, because what ends up happening is that they have to really look at how much does this activity cost me, and how much time does it actually take me to do. So kind of having a plan to capturing and figuring out what we need to capture is the biggest step. And then knowing how to assess the value of capturing that information. And then the second thing is the cost benefit of that information is how granular do you want to get with the capture of these routing steps? Is the juice worth the squeeze, as many say? So usually this is the hardest part of any manufacturing implementation is this. The easiest is the bill of materials. It's just your recipe, but this is usually where the most of the complexity comes.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for helping out the community and addressing those questions. I think we just have a little bit more on the slide aspect of things. There's no more questions, so thanks for helping us along and getting those answered. So just to do a quick recap, Michael touched on some terminology and considerations as it relates to Business Central and production orders. We looked at Business Central and Power BI out of the box, which that integration is definitely seamless. It was very evident in what you showed us today, Michael. So thank you. And what to do if you need more now. So if there's something that you saw Michael shared with us today and you're like, I want to know more, I want to know this, or I want to be able to talk in more depth about this concept, get in touch with us. Reach out to your customer success manager at Crestwood. Myself and the team, we're here to help and support you. And we'll make sure to get you in touch with the right resource here at Crestwood. And with that, I thank everybody for their time and attending. And Michael, thank you for your support and working on this endeavor and having some coffee with myself and the rest of the attendees today. And hope everybody has a great day.